So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All right. Ms. Bond?
Aye.
Ms. Monaco?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
I'm gonna abstain.
Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Kasha?
Yes.
Mr. Cuna?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Volano?
Yes.
Okay, I vote yes. 801. And we have a couple of invoices and commitments.
So this first commitment is Danisco's amendment number 10 in the amount of $290,482.50. This is a amendment containing 3 reimbursable expenses, 18, 19, and 20, which I listed below as a breakdown. Danisco is going to be bringing on their consultants, and this is essentially now through construction administration. So this is like the long-term services of their geothermal consultant, wetlands and site, and the hazardous materials. Anybody have any questions? The backup should be in your files.
I can't see any hands online. All right, anyone have a motion for me?
I'm trying to figure out how to make it. What was the total?
We're looking at the amendment, the
Oh, the
commitment first.
commitments?
Yeah.
What page is it?
290,
4 or 5, let's see.
I think just go up one.
It's on the screen right there too,
Yeah.
Chris.
I can say it if you want, $290,482.50.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
Just
Jeremy?
one on line RE18, the other 2 amendments are not to exceed. Is there a reason we didn't go not to exceed on the geothermal services? For that amendment?
There may be a couple of, they usually have separate line items, say for meetings, and typically they won't charge us if
Okay,
they
the
don't
wrong one.
exceed, if they don't reach that amount. Let me just, double check that one.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Monaco?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Kasha?
Yes.
Mr. Cuna?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Volano?
Yes.
Does this seem to?
I vote yes, 900.
Andrea.
Okay, I've got the wrong one.
All right, next we have 3 Danisco invoices and 1 Dorn Whittier invoice. I think we can take one motion for all 3 Danisco invoices.
Well, I can't make it until I find this.
Oh, I can do
All
it.
right, go ahead.
I
All
make
right,
a motion
That one?
that we approve Danisco invoice number 10110 in the amount of $346,200.
Second.
And Danisco, am I going to do all 3?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Danisco 10111 in the amount of $1,164. And Danisco invoice number 10096 in the amount of $14,179.
Second.
Any questions?
Yeah, why can't I get this in my email?
It's from the
Oh, Friday,
13th.
Friday, it helps.
All right, Ms. Bond,
Aye.
Ms. Monaco,
Aye.
Megan, you want to abstain, or you want to vote on the invoices?
Danisco invoices.
I approve. I had no
Okay.
issues with them when I read the backup.
Okay. Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Kasha?
Yes.
Mr. Cuna?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
Guess what?
Mr. Volano?
Yes.
I vote yes, 10-0-0.
I'll make a motion to approve Dora and Whittier invoice number 27 in the amount of $19,592.50.
Second.
Questions, comments? Bob, you'll tell me if you see any hands.
Yeah, this will light up blue.
Oh, okay. All right. Ms. Bond,
Aye.
Ms. Monaco,
Aye.
Ms. Novoychuk,
Aye.
Mr. Brooks,
Aye.
Dr. Conti,
Yes.
Ms. Kasha,
Yes.
Mr. Cuna,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Valano.
Yes.
I vote yes, 10-0-0. Right, design update.
I'm just gonna quickly switch to a different screen. Yeah. Is that sharing?
Yeah, I think so.
You're gonna,
She's gonna hand it to me.
it's not letting me share this screen. It's not letting me share this other screen. Oh, there it goes. Double click. Okay, here you go.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we just want to report, we had a couple of very good working group meetings last week with the interior working group and the exterior working group, and we want to give you kind of an update on what we discussed and kind of where the project stands at this point. Right click.
Right click should advance it.
Try
I
down
didn't do
here.
full screen.
Oh, that one there?
Oh, you can do that one. There you go.
Okay. So this is our current site plan. I just want to give you a couple of highlights to what might have look a little different. We've fine-tuned the traffic circle, and we've, with our traffic engineer, kind of engineered the radii of those legs of the approaches to the traffic circle. So that looks a little bit different. You'll notice that the islands are a little bit longer, and then the roads are a little bit, the curves are a little bit, have larger radii. In addition, we've also looked at the parking lot, and before we had medians between the rows of parking, and we've eliminated those to make it easier to plow, which also gave us a little bit more room for the fields, because we had some grading issues kind of to the right, so that helped us with that. And then in addition, we're also developing the hardscape around the building as you go around with the outdoor learning, outdoor dining, as well as, kind of the little space between the playground and the gymnasium. So that's kind of the update on our site plan. Slide. Again, the traffic is again very similar. This is the new alignment, so you'll notice the lines are a little bit different where the curbs are. But the traffic flow is essentially the same. There will still be stop signs as you exit the parent drop-off loop and the van loop, as well as the bus loop. So essentially, a lot of this is the same as we've been showing it. We just kind of updated the site alignments. Okay, next one is, so yes, we just want to give you a little bit of an overview with the updated model based on these revised site work we're looking at. And one thing I didn't mention is that we're looking at putting a pollinator garden in that like triangular green space out front, so we think that'll be a great opportunity for some outdoor learning or in the front of the school. It'll add a little life to that kind of green space as well.
We're also continuing to develop the site design with landscape, so this shows a very basic lawn. There's a lot of green, but it won't all be lawn. We're also going to be looking at how to make sure that the softscape, the landscape, is as maintainable, easily maintained as possible, as well as providing enough space for snow clearing and snow storage. So while it looks very green, there are going to be many areas where there are just plant material and mulched area, so it won't all be grass.
Vivian, Martha had a question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, there was talk very early on about trees in the parking lot, which has its appeal because trees are good and because shade is good. But if we're going to have the potential to add solar canopies into the parking lot, does that mean we wouldn't be putting trees in?
Yes.
So, and, I mean, we could put more trees in that front lawn section where you're talking about putting, so is that the plan?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be trees or solar canopies. You couldn't do both.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that, you know, we'd like to, I'd like to have solar canopies, and I hope other people do too.
And there are opportunities, you know, once we kind of wrap it up with the PPA and determine what the amount of production needs to be for net zero, it could be that you leave a couple of areas along the perimeter open, and then you can also provide trees in those areas. But I think we're waiting at this point to kind of finalize the quote from the PPA, the folks who would do the solar canopies on contract.
Okay, so my understanding is then, I know this was true for residential, but you're not really allowed to install more solar panels that would provide more energy than the use of the building. Is that true for a school as well?
I don't know if that's true or
I'm
not.
Sure.
So we still could have more, I mean, even if we, and you're saying you think we may reach net zero with the solar panels on the building?
No.
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 We'd reach about 40% of building use.
So then why wouldn't we put solar panel canopies?
It would just,
We might need fewer than, you may not need to cover the entire parking lot
Okay.
with them, is all we're saying. So we'll kind of figure out what that number is.
Okay. And if we do, then wouldn't that allow us with the PPA credits toward electricity in the town or in the schools? Wouldn't that still save us money?
it would save you money over not having anything. But
It
it
would
might,
be an improvement.
it'd be
over that,
improvement. Yeah, it would save you money, but it might be more costly than if you bought the panels yourself going
Okay, so
forward.
this is only like a tiny piece of the conversation.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, there's more to be said.
So when do those decisions get made, and who sets the values for that?
We're still chasing the PPA company
Okay.
to get us real numbers.
Okay?
They did some preliminary numbers, but they didn't make sense, so I
Oh.
have them looking at the bills that you've sent us and trying to model what your energy use will be and what the cost would be to you for the PPA.
So there is, the PPA could offer us panels on all possible areas on the roof and also on the parking lot? Okay,
Yep, and then you'd be buying electricity from them at a discounted rate.
right. And the more panels we have, the less electricity we are purchasing from them at that, or are we purchasing the same amount, but wouldn't we get more credits toward our electric bill? That would still has to be negotiated in the contract.
I think that how the PPA works is you're buying electricity from them.
Yeah.
They're essentially making a plant on the parking lot for you. So everything that, like if you use more electricity than the plant produces, you'll have to buy it from Eversource at their rates. So you'll always be buying from the two people, more or less.
Yeah, maybe you can, Roger.
It's more complicated than
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, with respect to canopies, I'm assuming that we still have to pay to have the canopies built, even if the PPA provider puts solar panels on them.
No, the PPA provider would do everything.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why you make less, that's why it's less beneficial to you in the long run,
Okay.
because they make money on the project.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can do better long-term if we put up the capital to build it ourselves.
Yes,
but-
you would. It's just if you have the
But
capital.
we haven't gotten to that point yet, because we don't have the good PPA data, so.
I have a question through the chair. So if one of the canopies was to become damaged, who would be responsible for the dam?
They maintain them. The PPA does. But if you buy them and build them, then you're responsible.
So if someone, a car hit one, would that be, or a child damaged a solar panel, like who would be responsible for repairing the solar panels and taking care of the damage
It'd be on the town or the school department
in a PPA, or either way, really? Okay.
or PPA, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to try to pick it up the base a little bit here.
We have a lot of slides.
So we've looked at, at the extra working group, we looked at a couple of locations we want to do a sign so people at the traffic circle can see Fox Hill on a wall that kind of directs you towards the school, because you're still kind of far away from the front door, so this is kind of like a little bit of wayfinding. So it seemed to make the most sense to put it in this green triangle in the middle of the site. So I think that was the agreement of the people that we talked to at the exterior working group. And we'll develop this a little bit more. It'll have the words Fox Hill on it. Right now, we just have a curved wall with a precast panel in it. Okay.
As long as it doesn't look too inviting to go to the left of the sign.
No. Unless you're just going to
Fox
Westwood.
Hill with the fox, the tail pointing that way.
That would be good.
Like an arrow, right?
So I think last time we were here, we talked about different canopy options, and we heard some feedback from you, and we just wanted to show you. We did some additional explorations. These are 4 new options that we looked at in a little bit more detail. So I kind of settled on the one to the lower right. It extends the canopy a little bit more towards the van drop-off, and also it is about 100 feet long, maybe a little bit over 100 feet long. And we looked at, previously, I know we showed a glass canopy, and then we reached out to our estimator, a cost estimator, and the glass canopy would be significantly more expensive, so we've decided to just kind of pursue the more reasonable opaque canopy, just built out of steel and mostly steel, I guess. So let me show you some pictures of it. This is kind of a view. We're still kind of looking at the color, but you can kind of see it'll have columns about every 16 feet, and it's about 10 feet to 11 or so feet tall. It kind of slopes up a little bit with the structure. And we kind of like the way it kind of mediates between the building and the parking lot, so it kind of gives you a little bit of foreground at the front of the building, which we kind of like. That's the current status of the canopy. Again, we talked last time about was there a question?
Yeah, I'm having trouble visualizing on the canopy. So the picture on the left looks like, is it attached to the building?
No, it's freestanding in front of it. Let me go back to the plan, and maybe that's a little
No, that's okay. I just thought the way the
See this-
shadow fell, it looked like it was attached.
It's a little.
That would also give more protection, but it also makes it less natural light, so, okay.
Yeah, the building kind of is set back quite a bit there, but so its perspective view makes it look like it's
Okay.
closer than it really is.
Want to know what I was seeing.
Okay. So exterior windows, we showed you a few different options last time, and we've kind of settled on this more simple pattern where it's mostly masonry with some metal panels and windows and a little bit of phenolic in between them. This is sort of a look with the horizontal sunshades that we discussed last time as well. And keep going. So from the inside, it gets you a lot of nice windows, a little bit over 100 square feet in the classroom. So we think it'll provide a lot of light in these spaces for the kids.
They're also set high enough so you're getting a good amount of daylight in, but high enough off of the floor also so that the teachers can place furniture in front of the windows. We know that there's a lot of books
Bookcases
and bins and all those fun things that the kids use during the day, so it's a good balance. And what we're doing with the window patterning is just a way of looking at the most efficient layout as possible, but at the same time creating a little bit of playfulness with a pattern. So a lot of older schools, you'll see all the windows just kind of stack one on top of each other. In this case, we're using the materials in such a way that we kind of break it up so that it's not the same repetitive pattern all across the building. It's a fairly long building, so we're trying to break up that scale a little bit.
Yeah, so you can kind of see the
And excuse me, through the chair, are they able to open the windows?
Yes.
Yeah, so the horizontal low one, that'll open.
Okay.
It'll be like an awning window.
Yeah.
But the other ones will be fixed. So it's sort of a balance.
So these horizontal solar sunshades also remind me that, is there a conversation being discussed with the PPA or with whoever is designing solar panels about the possibility of solar panels as awnings? We talked about that, again, very, very early on. Is that something that's being considered? Maybe it's a better idea, maybe it's not a better idea, but I just want to know if it's being considered.
I did bring it up with we have the solar design consultant, so I did talk with them about it, and he strongly discouraged using building elements as solar panels, just because he sees a lot of failures in them.
Failures? They're not as
They're not as easy to access, and there's a lot of wiring that has to tie back to other things.
Okay,
So he doesn't recommend it. You could do it if you really want to pursue it, but
okay.
again,
thank
it's
you.
sort of it's not as robust as the ones on your roof, which you can easily
And
replace.
they're odd sizes, too.
Oh, well, yeah, it sounds like it's much more complicated.
We did look at that. We looked at it, even putting it in windows. There's some places you can put it in the
Yeah.
glass itself.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, I think last time we did also talked about the bus drop-off, so we've been looking at, we made the building a little bit smaller because we simplified the stair, and then we looked at a bunch of different options, and we kind of settled on this one to the lower right, which has a little bit less glass, and this is sort of like kind of a little bit more developed view of it. So it'll have a large curtain wall in the corner of the stair, and then a curtain wall that kind of is at the end of the corridor, and then the vestibule part of it, it has a lot of glass, so you can see the buses. If you're inside that area waiting for the bus, you can see out and see all the buses when they come. So we thought that was kind of important, that kids could, see when their bus comes, if they're waiting out there. So this is still developing. The gymnasium, as you'll notice, the gymnasium looks a lot like it did in SD. We've just kind of refined it a little bit, kind of reduced some of the glazing. It's, again, a lot of it is the masonry. We just have a clear story up top. We've extended the roof a bit. It's like a 6-foot overhang to kind of shade the southern side so that during the daytime, you don't get glare in the courts, which we know is a big problem. So we're still, there's a couple of little punched openings down low. So when you're in the gym, you can still see out and see some of the sky. And I think that we've also adjusted where the doors are out of the gym so that they're less in the way of the basketball courts. So they're more towards the corners. Those are the 2 doors needed for egress from the gym.
Question through the chair. I know, like, when we toured the school over in Woburn, right?
Harold Wyman.
Oh, yeah. And the gym gets really hot. They were complaining about that. So, I mean, when you talked about the overhang to kind of, but is there something to shade those windows to keep the sun from coming in and beating? Is there something that we can do? I don't know, electronic shade, something to keep it from getting so hot?
Is accent that?
We have in the past done stuff like woven stainless steel mesh on the exterior, like a fabric. It looks like a fabric almost. And that kind of can cut down on this solar gain on the window, like you get a 50% opening of the metal, so you're kind of cutting down 50% of the heat that comes in there.
Yeah, just something, again, that when I was going through that now's the time to talk about it, right?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
One thing we do is we use like a different glass on the southern side of we used to use a Solar Band 70, which is darker. It also lets in less glass, and we're going to do triple pane windows, so we're going to have potentially 2 low-E coatings on the glass, so it should let in a lot less energy. But we can definitely look at adding other things to the outside.
I don't know what was put into Harold Wyman, so.
It was double pane because it was
Okay.
10 years ago at this
Okay.
point. Okay, so let me just keep rolling here. We got a couple more slides. So this is another view of the gym. It kind of like sets up, it's a nice backdrop to the play area. So you'll have this is not the current playground structure, but it's one that we had in the file, but it's similar. And then you'll have the games beyond it with the basketball courts. So I think it's kind of a nice, kind of gives a nice definition to the play area. Okay, what's next? So we did a little bit of development. This is the cafeteria. I think last time we talked about, there was a discussion about trays. So we went back to our food service consultant, and he whipped out pretty quickly, he kind of revised the kitchen to say what would it take to do a tray wash. And essentially at trays, you need a conveyor type dishwasher, so it's a lot longer. So we had to reconfigure the kitchen a little bit. And so what we've done is we've taken the reconfiguration that he did and used it kind of as a base. You don't have to decide yet if you want to do tray washing, but this will allow you in the future to do it. And it really didn't impact the size of the kitchen much, but what it did do is push the quiet dining out of the building a little bit, about 5 feet. So you notice the volume of the quiet dining came out of the building a little bit, and then we also added in a vestibule so that now that when you leave the gym, or when you leave the cafeteria, you can go through a vestibule so you don't let all the air out of the warm air out of the building this time of year. And then I think at the working group, someone had a great idea. Maybe we add something to the quiet dining so it's not like such a fishbowl. So we're looking at maybe some kind of frosting or a pattern on the glass so it's not like you're in the middle of a fishbowl.
We have a question over here.
On the tray wash, is that the only thing we'd wash is trays?
No, you'd still be washing everything in there. You just need a conveyor dishwasher.
So you could wash
You'd wash everything in there.
flatware and dishes and all of that?
And you'd have a 3-pot sink in there as well, a 3-bowl
Okay,
sink.
and there had been some question about what was going on in other communities, like someone mentioned Lexington. Do we have any information on that?
They were using compostable trays
Compostable
when
trays.
we were there. Which school? Mariah Hastings. Like they had the parent manning the composting station, but it was not real. It was all composting, like not even trays. You know, like the bowls, but yeah, it was compostable.
Is there a new school, though, in Lexington that,
Yes.
That was pretty
Mariah
neat.
Hastings is the newest.
That's the only one we are aware. The Hastings School was completed
I mean, the high school.
2020. So that's, and we had worked on that project. When we finished it, I don't believe we installed the aware washer because there was a whole discussion as well with regard to what kind of trays should be used. And we talked a lot about it, whether the plastic trays were more sustainable than at that point, the compostables were not as common as they are now. So when we were discussing it, it was more the comparison between the styrofoam trays versus the plastic. And so now, what is it, 4 or 5 years later, more communities are not using styrofoam and they're looking at the compostable trays or the plastic, the comparison between.
do you have any knowledge, though, of any communities that are going back to using a dishwasher instead of single-use?
Actually, like dishes with a tray, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, the tray isn't a big deal, but I guess you need to put the dish on something. So, yeah, a tray, a dish,
Would be a
and
plastic tray.
flatware.
Yeah, so there are two different, there are many different ways you can do the trays. You could do the trays that have compartments.
Yeah, that's gross.
And but you can do a stainless one. The plastic ones, I actually have a memo that we put together that we're happy to share with you. The thing about washing trays is that you need 180-degree temperature water. It's a really high temp. So there's also concern about what's leaching out of the plastic trays when it's exposed to such high heats. So that's, I think, a
Oh, yeah,
lot
you
of
don't want
communities are kind
plastic.
of batting that back and forth, right?
So there's a whole lot of things to consider, and I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here, okay? The last thing I want to do is have plastic trays with high heat that emit estrogen-like molecules and give us all cancer, right? I mean, that's not what I'm looking for. Like, if I would going to put in a new kitchen, I would probably scour through a bunch of magazines and see what's popular, are they using glass tiles or ceramic tiles or modern stuff? And I figure you guys are the experts. So the newer elementary schools, are they being designed so that they will never have dishwashers of any sort? It's single use forever? Or is there some other trend? And that's all I'm looking for is that kind of information.
I think our food service consultant is not seeing a trend per se, but they're seeing a lot of communities asking the same questions.
Okay.
So there have been studies. The stainless ones, actually, they make them, unfortunately, they look very institutional. but they're inert. You don't have the issue of the,
Plastic.
yeah, the plastic,
Off-gassing.
right?
You don't want
Um,
plastic.
Say stainless steel trays?
Steel trays.
Yeah, we had talked about that.
Yeah, so that's an option. The compostable, I think a lot of communities are going towards that. What our food service consultant is saying is that he's seeing a lot of composting companies not accepting the trays because they take much longer to break down than other items, like all of the organics, right? So what he was saying is that the companies that come pick up, if they see that you've mixed the organics with the trays, they won't pick up at all. And so then the food service folks are then left to throw everything in the dumpster. So it kind of defeats the purpose. So I don't know that, I mean, there are many studies out there. We haven't done a comprehensive, and we can continue to look into it. What we do have is just kind of this, here are the pros and cons for each of these different components and how to kind of navigate it. But every community kind of has a different priority.
At some point in time, I think it's a little early, but at some point in time, I think we need a discussion about it and really figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah. So the good thing is that we were able to redesign the kitchen in a way that provides you the flexibility of adding the larger conveyor wear washer in the future. So it can accommodate either or. So it
Great.
gives you a little bit of time to kind of think about it. And we'll try to continue to gather the information. We have not seen folks actually purchase bowls and plates, et cetera, et cetera. The challenge is always, because the lunch period is so short, getting the stuff clean between lunch periods is not practical, so you're buying enough for the entire school. And so you're going to need to store it, and then there's the cleaning, and it takes more time and potentially staff. So there's a lot of considerations that, we'll try to outline it as simply as possible, but I think it goes back to what your priorities are and, what it costs, not just what does the material cost, but what does staffing cost and all the other things that come with that.
Safety first.
Yes.
So we have the room for it right now.
We do, yes.
We kind of would need to know, though, if, before we do CDs completed, if you do want to go down that path, because there will be mechanical systems will be a little different if you have a bigger dishwasher, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Thanks for looking into it.
So this is another view, and again, one thing we kind of just want to mention is we've added a little bit more phenolic, that kind of wood-looking material, so this kind of sets up the outdoor dining and outdoor learning areas, kind of gives it like a backdrop that's more natural looking and kind of a nicer background for those areas than the CMU that we had before.
Question through the chair? Is the phenol, I'm wondering why there isn't more phenolics like on the other side of bricks, less expensive? Is the phenolic more?
Bricks are less expensive. Bricks are less expensive,
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
believe it or not.
Through the chair, my observation is that much wood looks fake.
And we have samples too. You could.
So,
Well, they'd be in panels, they're,
anyway, it was just an impression is that just,
I agree, Roger.
it
You think
doesn't,
this is too much wood in this
Yeah.
picture?
we know it's not real wood. There's a lot of it.
Oh, don't
So-
tell me it's plastic.
Phenolic is sort of,
Sunlight.
It still looks pretty good.
it does look pretty good.
anyway,
All right, so.
away comment.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the end. So the building materials. So we've brought in all of the building materials that we're currently considering. So after the meeting, maybe if you guys want to take a look at what we've got on the table here. So as far as the exterior, we have a lot of brick, and the ones closest to me, we had the consolidated brick make up a panel for us of what the brick might look like with some mortar. So there'll be real bricks. They'll be 4 inches deep, but we had them make them thinner so it'd be easier to carry. So the main idea is we have.
Didn't want to put bricks in Bob's office?
Yeah, we thought about that.
We do have a concrete block there
I know
for
it
it.
is,
So.
yeah.
So it'll be kind of a blend. It'll be like 40% of a rough artisan type finish, and then 40% or 60% smooth. So you'll get a little bit of a blended look to the body of the building. We're also looking at having some accent bricks, so that's the one that's on top there. which isn't shown in this picture, but next to some of the classroom wings, there's a band 2 foot wide of the accent bricks. Also in the gymnasium, those kind of vertical stripes are this accent brick. And then what you see above the classroom windows, that's that green zinc stuff. I guess I can.
Here, you know what? I'm going to stand
You're gonna
here.
be Vanna White?
Yeah, I'm going to be Vanna White.
Okay. So that's the metal panel. It'll be kind of above the windows and below the windows. And it'll be interspersed with the phenolic. We have like a 2 foot wide band of the phenolic in the classrooms. So we think those two materials look really nice together with the brick, and it'll make a kind of nice composition. And then for the window frames themselves, we're looking at kind of this champagne-y bronze color. So they'll kind of work kind of in tandem. And the sunshade will either be that color or it'll be that silver that's on the table here. So we only have a small piece, but smaller. Okay, and then so we talked about the phenolic. There's a little bit of metal panel like at the library. That would also be that silver color. And so underneath the windows in the first floor, you'll notice we have a bit of CMU. So that's the material that's just below the accent brick. There's a decent amount of this on the project. Yeah. I think it's something
What
like
is that made of?
It's concrete and aggregate. It's ground smooth, so it looks a little bit nicer than just your
Looks like
cinder
kitchen
blocks.
counters.
Yeah, the quartz.
Looks like kitchen counters, marble-ish, with quartzite or whatever.
Thank you.
Where's that going?
So if you look at the base of the academic wing, the lower, below the windows of the first floor,
Okay.
there's a band that kind of is the base of the whole building. So that'll be kind of
So
there.
if
And
I-
also to the right under the,
If I could ask, is that also particularly sturdy, like the bottom?
Concrete, right?
You know, where?
yeah, the concrete's actually
It's probably
more
pretty-
sturdy
Yeah.
than brick down low, so we like
Okay,
it down
good.
there.
That's what I was thinking.
And then the last materials, we have a little bit of gray brick, kind of at the kindergarten bump out, and also in the admin area, this color. We might do it in a stack bond, so it looks a little different.
You bought, to the chair, brought a concrete block on the floor.
There's a concrete block on the
Where's
floor.
that go?
So we have
That's what that will turn into, right?
we have a few spots of dark brick base on the backside.
Okay, you don't have to pick that up.
You're very brave.
Bend with your knees.
It's only about 15 pounds, but
So this slide shows them all, but I'm sure it's better to look at the real thing.
exercise program.
Okay, so we did do a little bit of playground update. Megan O'Brien put together a fourth option, and I think we've shared it with the town. So we just need to kind of decide on what we want to go forward with. But I think this is the one that everybody seemed to like, because we use essentially the playground's divided into 2 large play structures and then some swings between them. And then also there are 5 to 6 independent little structures like that spin around, or they're kind of seesaw type things. So the taller, the bigger play structures, one's geared more towards the little younger kids. That's the smaller one to the left on the lower picture.
Handicap.
And then the taller one is geared towards
Lisa.
the bigger kids.
But I think the intent is that all the kids from kindergarten through 5th grade are able to use both. It's just really a matter of how much challenge they want, because the structures are considered, they meet the accessibility guidelines, so folks who are not able to use their legs effectively can actually kind of get on and scoot from one level to the other. It's just not 100% accessible for wheelchair access. We're still looking at all the separate components. There are many different components, but this is very similar to, I think this is very close to what the school, we met with David, some of the folks from the school department, and it was really desirable to have a little bit have structures that are a little bit more challenging than those that are just kind of, let's just kind of walk from one bridge to the other bridge. So that's how we landed on 2 structures. The swings were also really important, so we have a lot of swings there in between the 2. As Neil said, the freestanding elements are components that David will use he'll share with the staff, and they can provide input as well as sharing them with the students. And there's an opportunity after the holidays, we'll figure out how to post it so the kids can actually vote to see which components they like the most. And so they can participate in actually selecting some of these elements.
This is the kind of like the group of the elements.
I have a question about the playground equipment. I'm familiar with a company called Childscapes, and they have some fascinating equipment that's handicap accessible. It might be worth looking at.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I thought that the original plan was far better in many ways than this as far as accessibility is concerned. I understand the need for challenging equipment. I have an 11-year-old that would absolutely love this structure. And I know that he would also want all of his friends to be able to be on the structure with him at the same time. So I think we need to strike a better balance between the 2 structures, the 2 plans. I think it's great that we're doing a port-in-place surface that makes just the area itself universally accessible to people in all stages of their lives, but I don't believe that this is really what we as a community are trying to move towards, and I'd love to see more sensory play involved. I know there are like Rube Goldberg machines that are made for playgrounds. I think it would be very cool for interactive science STEM play for students in the playground, and I think that this looks really fun, but I'd like to see a balance between the 2 options that have been presented. Thank you.
For my 2 cents, I didn't think there were enough elements that required arm strength, like a high ladder that you can swing between and things like that. It seems biased toward, being low, and so I would see if there's another way to do that. I mean, I've got a couple of grandkids that, they'll just walk themselves down the high ladder and swing around. So, I mean, you need to cover everything, and I know that's hard to do with a fixed set of facilities, but that was my observation.
But they do have a lot of components, so we'll definitely provide that feedback back to the designer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come up
And
with-
I appreciate the idea of students being able to be transferred onto a different level of the play area, but not every student really wants that. Not every, some students who are and anyone who's in a wheelchair feels that that's part of their person, and they don't want to be manhandled, so to speak, out of that to be able to play. That's some of the feedback I've heard from families. Thank you.
Well, we can share with you some of the earlier schemes
Yeah,
that might
that
be
would be
more
great.
like this is actually one scheme. It's like there's 2 elements. So there's not
Some of
3 other
the
schemes that she put together.
Some of the equipment I was talking about with that company, it keeps the wheelchair and the kid together.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah.
And also for our
It's
staff,
fascinating,
too.
some of the stuff they've developed.
Yeah, at Francis Wyman, we have a merry-go-round that has a seat and that a wheelchair can roll right onto. I've heard some of the teachers enjoy playing on it, too. So it's fun for all ages.
So on the screen are many of the freestanding elements, and one of those merry-go-rounds would be a potential option. I don't know why it's
I don't think it's not in
Yeah.
there.
Have we thought about a platform swing? A swing where a wheelchair can ride right on instead of a student needing to be transferred onto a swing?
There may be some of those options, so let us.
Yeah,
let's
we'll
go back
dig
and
into
ask.
that.
There are merry-go-rounds like that, too.
Yeah, the one at Francis Wyman, right.
Okay.
I've seen a big sort of mesh globe that's a inside climbing rope structure. I don't know how that fits in with mixes
It's
with
kind of like
everything
the one in the center there.
Yeah, I mean, that looks plainer. Well, it's not plainer, but anyway. That's
Different.
the idea.
Well, they have a lot of equipment, so we'll
I know,
definitely
that's-
give the feedback to Megan. She'll be happy to give us some more options.
There's more ideas than we have room for, so, and money for.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So we're going to move on to the interior a little bit. I think we've talked a little bit about some of the plan updates already. So we've, again, made stair A, which is the farthest to the west near the bus loop, a little bit smaller. We've also made the tray washing possible now in the kitchen, so that made a little bit of a change. We've also kind of reconfigured the bathroom in the loading area, so it's a little bit more compact than it was. So those are some of the little minor changes that have happened to the plan. These plans really are slow to load. The stair A, this is an interior view, like when the doors to the bus loop are on your left, on the left picture. So you kind of, as you go up the stairs, you can kind of see that corner curtain wall I talked about earlier. We'll probably design like a nice bench kind of waiting area right there, so you can easily sit there and look out through the vestibule for the bus. And then to the right is kind of a section cut right inside of the vestibule door. Give you a sense that when you're at the corridor coming down the hallway, you'll have this nice double height space right as you get to the end of the corridor with stair kind of to your right. And then we'll have this nice green wall that we're thinking about maybe doing some sort of graphic on it, or maybe just making a nice material or acoustical pattern or something. But that's kind of a special wall, I think, for this end of the building that we're going to do a little bit more design work on.
And the colors that you see are not the final colors. They're there to kind of help visualize what the space might feel like. We're still, we're at the start of looking at colors only because we're looking at materials. These materials have certain limitations on color, so that's kind of it. It's a bit of an iterative process where we're going to be kind of going back and forth between colors and materials.
So as we talked about previously, I just wanted to show you the plan so that this is how the pot wash would be configured if you do decide to use the trays. So you'd have this large dishwasher that's a conveyor type, and then it needs a huge counter to the left of it so that the trays can go out and have a place to sit, and then there's some storage required. But if you decide not to use trays, we can also put in a smaller dishwasher, and this would free up a little bit more space here for storage racks, which every kitchen needs more of. So,
So when we open the school, we could design it so that there is the overhead door that would open up the counter for the kids, just to have it in place, right? And to give you the option, or if it's decided not to do that, we could omit it. But at this point, we would put it in for pricing purposes. And then you'll see that there's this little pop-out area, so the quiet dining just kind of got rejiggered a little bit. It got pushed out 5 feet, so it has actually a little bit more window, a little bit more daylight coming in. As Neil said, then we kind of swapped out some space by reducing the size of stair A. We allocated that space to the vestibule, so that provides really, it's, in the wintertime when kids are going in and out, it's so much better than just having the door open and having a rush of cold air. So in terms of the interior comfort for folks, this works a lot better.
okay.
That storage seems hard to get to. Is that like deep storage?
You could get chairs in there, you could,
Yeah, it's 5 feet wide, so it's not a huge storeroom, but it's
You just have
space
to
we
go through
couldn't use in the kitchen.
2 doors to get to it, so.
Yeah.
it's kind of a bonus, right? So it was because of the way that the kitchen's now configured, we couldn't really use it. So we'll continue to look at how better to use that little space, but
Yeah.
bonus storage.
Sensory, too loud in the cafeteria.
And this
The
is-
PTO will claim that storage space. I just put my now. Thank you.
I'd be happy to go through
Yep.
2 doors.
Yeah, I don't care how many doors, as long as it's not a loft attic space.
Okay. So this is sort of view of the dining room with the, you can kind of see the vestibule and the door to the quiet dining. And to your left is the serving area. And the 2 kind of barn doors are just partially opened right now into into the serving area, and you can kind of see there's a glass transom. So there'll be some natural light getting into the servery as well. And I think we talked about these as the same images from the exterior. We just wanted to remind you that the plan changes did have some impact on the exterior a little bit.
Wow.
Quick question though, for the cafetorium and the stage,
Yep.
do you know what the height of that's going to be? Because again,
18
I remembered
inches.
at the Harold Wyman that the parents were saying that it's hard to see when there's something going on. I mean, I realize there are risers and things like that, but did we
It's 18 inches.
Think about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Typically, we do 3 steps up, so the steps are also used as risers, but the higher we go, the longer the ramp needs to be, so we're always constrained by the space and by the MSBA kind of the formulas, right? So we find that the 18 inches gives us, we need to then have a ramp that's just a little bit longer than 18 feet, and so it just all takes space. We could maybe get it, well, let us look at it, but it is a challenge because the way that the platform is configured, you can actually get to it from the music suite as well. So there's another ramp on that side, so it all kind of works together. And so the music rooms then can become like a green room when there are performances. It just creates a nice relationship between that area and the platform. But yeah, 18 inches is kind of where, it's kind of the sweet spot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so just a couple more upstairs plan updates. So again, stair A, we again reconfigured that's a little bit smaller. And then we did do a little bit of work in the outdoor classroom area. So
The rooftop.
the rooftop, I think I have a slide that shows it. So what we've done is we had this space next to the gym that was just a cavity, so we've kind of taken that over. And so now we have a little bit of an alcove and also a couple of storage closets out there. So I think that's a good spot for like storing the benches and the chairs and furniture and stuff in the wintertime. And we're also looking at maybe doing some sort of fabric shading device so it's not so sunny there, because it's going to be, it could be quite hot there in the hot day. It's all contained and southern facing. Warm, yeah. Well, we like that today, wouldn't we? Or this past week. All right, so we're just going to talk a little bit about. So we started looking at colors and the interior design. So we've tried to use nature as our inspiration for this project, especially because you're surrounded by beautiful woodlands and what do you call those? Wetlands and stuff, and wetlands and vernal pools. So we've looked at some of the things that are in the wetlands, the colors you might get out of it, and some of the animals that are in there, like the salamanders. And so we've developed a palette for each of the kind of pods, each grade pod, based on those colors. And so we start at the lower floor, which is on the bottom. That would be like kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And we're thinking of that as more kind of like the forest floor and the vernal pool area. And then the upstairs would be more of the kind of tree canopies in the sky. So those are kind of the colors that inspire the upstairs.
Tree canopy in the fall.
And in the fall. Well, we have to get red in there somehow.
Yeah.
So the first floor, so for all of the building, we have a lot of neutrals. So most of the corridors will be these 2 linoleums on the left. It will be mostly the lighter one with some accents of the camel-colored one, which is to the right. We will have some wood that's red oak that we're showing there, and I think the tile we're showing is more of a white, kind of a white off-white tile on a lot of the wainscoting in the corridors. So there'll be like a neutral background for most of the interior, and then we'll have accents colors in the project areas and some like feature walls that we want to highlight. Pass them around.
We can get up after.
Yeah, we can get up after.
Show and tell afterwards, right?
Afterwards, yeah. So the first floor, yes, there's green. I think we're showing that in the kindergarten. Yellow is first grade, and then this kind of periwinkle blue is in second grade.
Do we have to have that lizardy thing?
They would love that.
Salamander?
Is that what it is?
You don't want him. Actually, he's native to the vernal pools of Massachusetts.
Maybe we could just put his picture on the wall.
Yeah, that's,
You don't want him to be the new mascot?
they're very little. And then upstairs, again, the neutral tones on the upper left, and then it would be kind of more of a sky blue for fifth grade, more of a reddish color for fourth grade, and orange for third grade.
We could also move them around.
Yeah, we could definitely move them around, but.
Yeah.
So this is sort of a first pass at what it might look in like a typical project area with, so we would mix the colors. It wouldn't be just one color in each project area. We have like maybe the majority of the color is the one that's the project area's color, but we do splashes of the adjacent colors so that it's not a monochromatic space. So you can kind of see stripes of the other colors in these renderings.
We want the kids to be able to look down the corridor and be able to see some of these main colors, so they can say, oh, look, there's my
Yeah, it gives you,
homeroom. Yeah.
gives you a little bit of wayfinding in these corridors. Okay. All right. Now we're talking a little bit about the design. So in the non-academic part of the building. So we have a bunch of opportunities that are nodes. So we're just going to label them A, B, and C, but A is like the central stair, that single stair that's curved in the middle of the building. B is kind of the front lobby, and then C is the gym, the music gym lobby that has also a stair in it.
There are a lot of two-story spaces in this school. It's great. It's two-story. It's a two-story school. We're able to open up floor areas so you can kind of connect the two levels. But having two stories, we have like large swaths of wall. So we're working with a graphic designer, and we'll have, hopefully in January, some concepts to share with you where we can use these walls as learning opportunities. They might be large environmental graphics that have, I don't know, science information or information about Burlington in general or the surrounding areas. So there might be some passive walls. The challenge is always to put something up that is always fresh. And, you know, when it's a big graphic, you're not able to really refresh it. So we're going to intersperse that with potentially some monitors that then can project information. So, you know, we talked to Dennis, thank you, Dennis, about programming some of these monitors so that they could be projecting a program, or they could be projecting information about the building, how much electricity is being generated, how much water is being used, et cetera. So there's really great opportunity in some of these spaces, and that's why we're calling these nodes as potential opportunities for learning. So here's the first one.
First one's kind of that curved stair that connects the upper academic wing to the main lobby. So it's a nice opportunity because it's got a big two-story wall, that green one. Again, that's just a placeholder to show you where the graphic might be. And I think it'll be kind of the heart of the academic wing, I think, because it's very visible. And it's a natural way to get down to the cafeteria from all the kids upstairs. You don't have to, do the stairs back and forth.
But all the kids will be passing through some part of that during
Yeah.
the course of the day.
That's the first one. And the second one is the main lobby, I believe. Let's find out.
Yep.
There it is. Yeah, so when you enter this main lobby, you look at the picture to the bottom left. So the front doors are to the right. You see the desk in front of you, just to the right of the doors. And then down that long corridor is the gym at the very end. And then to the left, you'll see the stair up to the library. So there's a lot of opportunities here. One of the main things we want to do is kind of connect you back to the outside, out the back, where the outdoor learning is. So we're working on that corridor. That's kind of the upper, that corridor there. So the lower right-hand picture there, that's the your link to the outdoor learning and kind of some of the, I guess you could go directly to the playgrounds that way as well. So you kind of, when you look out that way, you'll see the woods and everything. It'll be a nice view.
So what you see there is a large monitor that's vertical. Yep. So that we have the opportunity to kind of partition and provide different information on different parts of it. And what we want to do is be able to bring people down around the corner and have some sort of nice environmental graphic that has a batch of display cases that are mounted at different heights. We want to just activate that. It's a corridor. We want folks to feel like, oh, this is a fun corridor. We're going to go down to the outdoor learning area, and we're going to have even more fun and learn about the wetlands, learn about the salamanders. But these display cases, yep, there you go, will provide an opportunity for the kids to either participate, and maybe it's an art project, maybe it's the theme of the month. So it gives them an opportunity to put some of their work on display, and just there's a sense of pride with that too. It also provides the science program an opportunity to do things, to add more information. I don't know if they do stuffed critters. I don't know, but we thought it'd be nice to actually have one larger display case also where they might do a diorama, or maybe one of the classrooms each month gets to use that display case. So there's a lot of opportunity for the kids to really collaborate as a grade or as a classroom to use this wall, kind of in a passive way, but hands-on in different ways.
And would this be an area where we could add information about the sustainability of the building?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we're thinking that main wall
Because that's a
might have
whole
some.
educational piece that's scientific, and
Yeah.
This,
I know other schools have done it, so
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think
I hope we will.
we're going to have many systems that we can kind of feed into a program, right? That will kind of be a snapshot in time. You will, we're suggesting we have a weather station of some sort, so again, we can bring that information in as well, yeah.
To be specific, to have a display, how do these geothermal heat pumps work? And how do the solar panels work?
Yeah.
And is there any, I don't even know if there's any water preservation stuff in this building, but, if there is, to show, and how the triple pane glass protects, and both from too much heat and from losing, all those things can be displayed as part of the educational program.
yeah, definitely. I think the big monitor is a good way to do it, because we can write, you can write programs so that you could change it up as you get
Yeah.
kind of gets a little bit tired. So I just want to show you a section through here, so it gives you an idea of the connection from, to the left side is the front doors, the vestibules. They're right below the library, so as you'll notice when you come in the front door, there's a double height space that really is connected directly to the library with a glass storefront. And then you're kind of right in line with that corridor, with the green wall will be the graphic we were talking about. And then the part of that graphic kind of turns the corner and goes up to the second floor. But the idea is to try to really kind of stitch this whole area together so that you really feel like you're connected to the outside. And you're also connected to upstairs, so it's like kind of a real node, a real center of the school. Then finally, we've also identified a wall between the cafeteria and that stair in the main lobby across from the office, where we could do some sort of student participatory artwork, essentially. So it could be a mosaic tile wall that the students with an artist might develop into something special for the school. And in the upper right-hand corner is the one that we did something similar in Lexington for Mariah Hastings.
Yeah.
With an artist. I think the PTO in Lexington.
I think the PTO supported that, so that's something we can discuss further. Many, actually, we have now 4 or 5 schools that have worked with a local artist where he comes in and develops a vision with the principal and staff, and will work with the kids during art class where they actually will help kind of clip little mosaic glass tiles, and then he'll put it together in panels, mesh panels, and actually install it on the wall. So it happens towards the end part of construction, but it's fully coordinated, so when the school opens, this beautiful image is also completed. It's really quite beautiful.
And it'd be a nice feature right near the entrance. Great opportunity. Okay, it's just, we did a little bit of study at the front desk. We wanted to be sure we got the right front desk, and we worked with Kristen and David to make sure we got something that works well with them. So the winner was the one in the upper left-hand corner, so it's a curved desk with the 2 high transaction counters on the outside, so the middle is low. This, again, we're just still designing it, but so it'll evolve a little bit, but that's kind of the general geometry of it. And when you get to we have a bigger picture of it.
Is there still the drive-through window in the vestibule?
Yes.
Okay.
It's it's
Well, you call it a sally port, but
What is a sally port?
when you come in, when you come to the
Yeah.
front door, you basically need to
You
be
buzz in.
buzzed in.
Yeah.
So similar to what we do now, right? And Kristen will say, "Who are you?" Or, you look familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, come on in. But you can't move any further into the school
school.
because there's another set of doors that you can see right there on the right-hand side. Those are locked until you check into a so there's another window then in that vestibule where Kristen or someone else might be greeting the person who comes in to say, who are you? What are your credentials? There are programs where you can actually check credentials, and then you can issue a badge there.
We have that.
It's similar to a bank, right, where you can actually slide the credentials underneath this little slot. So if they pass muster, then they come right on in. And once you're in, we just want this to feel, even the vestibule, we want it to feel as welcoming as possible. So we wanted it's different than what you have now, right? You come in and you're actually in an office before you go into the school. This really makes the reception admin area part of the school and kind of part of the action. So Kristen and whoever is staffing the main desk area can see everybody coming in, and they can see everyone coming down the corridor from the academic area, and can peek around and see what's going on the other end. But we also want to provide a little bit of privacy because there are computers and what have you. So that's what those little high portions are, to just provide a little bit of coverage for the desk area. But the open area is about 30 inches high, so Kristen can greet the smallest kids that come by. And I think that's what the curve also is a little bit more soft, and welcoming. But you'll see that the upper part is squared off because we also have glass panels that close this off. So during off hours, when the school is closed, it's a simple pull one panel over. There are 3 panels that are kind of telescoping on each side, and they're lockable. So it's much easier to do as a straight line on either side. But I think what you see down low is just much softer and more welcoming. Almost done.
almost done, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, finally we get into the music lobby. So again, this is a great space because it's got a lot of double height area. You can kind of see in this section to the right. So this is looking towards the gym. The gym is on your right through those glass doors. There's also the stairway up, which obviously is visible. A lot of wooden millwork, and then there's a few steps, and there's a ramp which is beyond the cut that brings you up to the music area. So this is, I think, will be kind of a nice connection between the 2 floors. It also brings you right out to the outdoor classroom, which is at the top of the stairs there to the right. And so we have a couple of big walls here, and one of them we're thinking of doing maybe some sort of acoustical panel pattern. Right now this is they're called Einstein tiles. They're like repeating tiles. We would just make them out of acoustical felt or something. But it might be kind of a learning opportunity as well, not just a nice graphic. So it also could be a graphic if we decide to go down that route too. But we're thinking it'd be nice to have something a little more colorful. These are a couple other views of it. And we think probably wrap the corner, the acoustical panels. We want to do a little bit of sound absorption because it is such a high space and it might get a lot of reverb. Did you do this?
That looks, yeah, you can do it.
Okay. So just more views of that. And then finally, we just want to kind of give you an update on the library. So we've just been doing a little bit of tweaking, kind of working on some of the curtain wall and storefront fenestration patterns, and adding a little bit of wood to the wall between the library and the corridor. Next slide. This
I
looks,
think we've seen it, but you can point out.
yeah, so this is the library. Again, we talked about this earlier, how it's connected really directly to the first floor through these openings in the floor. So this is a view from the upstairs lobby, second floor lobby, so you can kind of see we added a little bit of wood in the upper left-hand picture. So there's going to be a little bit of wood paneling as well as maybe some tile. So it breaks up that glassy storefront that connects the corridor to the library. So again, it's just we're kind of still developing it, but I think it's getting a little bit richer with adding some wood and some color to it.
That is it.
And that might be it.
Yep.
Read it.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank you.
carrying.
Sorry about the length.
We have a lot to share.
I'll give you
Back to the PowerPoint. Okay, moving along. We have completed in upcoming meetings. So we just have a little list here, things that were completed in October. We went through at the last meeting in November. We were able to complete 2 kitchen meetings, the design follow-up where Danisco was able to discuss the added space of the warewash machine. So we will have a more specific meeting about that down the line, but you guys know that you do have the space for it as of now. We had another exterior working group. We had an interior working group kickoff meeting, and can't see that last one. Traffic, which we had today. So we had some great feedback from some members of the town community, and we will need to meet again on that. And then to be scheduled, we have solar, which was brought up today. Thank you, Martha. We need to do some room data sheet reviews, DCM, planning, Concom, in both Burlington and Wilmington, DPW and engineering, and Board of Health. So we will be kind of touching base with all of them over the next month or so. Does anybody have any questions about those? None? I just thought I'd throw the project schedule in here. The last time we saw this was in October, right after our vote of approval. Just wanted to bring it back so everybody had a big picture of where we were at. Danisco's working hard in the beginning of their DD phase. We will be going for our first estimate in January?
At the end of January.
January.
The end of January, which will be exciting. We'll actually be able to bring some numbers to you guys, just to see if we're on track. And that'll be good. MSBA is going to resume their funding mid-January as well. Let me move on from there. Do we have any other topics for discussion? Anybody online?
Nobody in the room.
You We have no public, correct?
Right. Anyone want to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Yes.
Email about